Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Shanif, and I'm the founder of Locusive. Now, I've been putting together a couple of videos to show you how you can use Locusive to essentially get answers from your internal knowledge bases, your internal product databases, just by chatting with a Slack bot. In a previous video, I showed you how a company called Live was able to use Locusive to ask a question about data that's stored in their database and get a response back. In this video, I'd like to walk through how that actually works. Sometimes it's important to understand what's going on in the background so that you get a sense for what the system is doing when you use it. So in case you've forgotten, last video, I basically ran this particular question here, which I'm going to copy and paste really quickly. Please show me a list of all the tasks that employees of this one company, in this case a demo company, are working on related to presentation skills. And we ran this on the Slack assistant that's connected to the Lingo Live workspace, and it was able to come back with an answer. So today's video, I want to walk through exactly what's going on. Now, again, what's going to happen here is I asked this question to the assistant, and you can see in the background here, I've got this server that's handling this request. There's a lot going on here. What we're going to do is let the system finish answering the question, and then we'll go back and actually trace through what happened on the server for it to be able to come to this answer. In the meantime, while this is working, I'll give you a quick sense of what's happening in the background. Now, we've got this particular assistant, as I mentioned, hooked up to a lot of internal data for Lingo Live. And the way that works, all right, it looks like it just came back with all the content. Let's just double check it. Yep. All right. So what I'm going to do first is show you very quickly how this works based on what we've connected to the system. What I'm showing you now is the web front end for Locusive, and we've got this integrations tab here. You can tell we've connected a database to this particular assistant, and this database has a series of tables, and each table has a series of columns that we have essentially marked as excluded or included for the Locusive assistant to use. And that allows our system to understand what tables should be included when a user makes a request that might include a database query. In addition, we've written up what we're calling reference guides, or you can think of it as an onboarding manual, about how the LLM should think about the data that's stored in the database. We have information about the database structure, as well as information about different nuances about the database. And then finally, we've got a list of example queries about how the database should think about running a SQL query in case a new type of request comes in. So what happens is, now we'll go back to the server here, and actually really quickly, I'll show you the list of example tasks that were returned. Now, in case you've forgotten, we basically asked, please show me a list of the employees of this demo company who are working on presentation skills. Well, what the system did was it went through, it looked for certain keywords related to presentation skills, and then it came back with the list of the demo employees who are working on skills related to presentation. So you can see here, this is all real data from the database at least. Role play, answering questions about your presentation, give a demo, practice speaking in a department meeting. These are all tasks related to presentation skills, and this was all pulled from the database. Now let's walk through really quickly, how did the system come to these answers? I'm going to scroll all the way to the top, and what we're looking at now is essentially output from the system that it ran when it got the user's question. So I know I'm going a little bit fast here, but just bear with me, we'll take this step by step. Up here you can see that the system recorded that it received my user message, and I said, please show me a list of all the tasks that employees of this company are working on related to presentation skills. All right, well, this is an autonomous agent, so it's connected to a variety of different tools on the background, and some of them are specific to this data set, and others are more general. For example, if it's got a search engine tool, and it's got a previous message loader tool, but it also has this database query tool. And what we're asking the system to do is choose from this list of tools to get the information it needs to answer the user's question. And this is one long prompt that I've designed over the course of 15 months to make sure that we get the right tool. Now, if we zoom in a little bit and we scroll down a little bit, I just lost my place, but I'll scroll back to it. if we come back and take a look at what the LLM gave us, and in this case we're using Llama 3, it's going to reason through the type of information it needs and the tool it needs to use, and it's going to correctly conclude that it needs the database query tool. So once it uses that tool, we essentially give it a list of the database schema, the included columns and tables that are in this schema. And we say, all right, here's your schema, and here's the reference guide that we gave you earlier. In addition to custom instructions that I provide on every database tool run, we give the database reference guide, which includes the structure, and we also give the most relevant example queries that we've provided for the system to learn from. And we put all of this into a prompt, and we say, using all of this information, please come up with the SQL query you need to answer the user's request. So it looks at all of this. It thinks out loud about the reasoning. It thinks about what columns it's going to need. And then it comes up with a particular query that it thinks it should run. Now, in this case, what it did was it thinks it needs to run a query on a couple of tables, and it needs to filter on the account ID, which is correct here, demo product, and it needs to find tasks whose name looks like the phrase presentation skills. Well, you know, if you're thinking about this, this could make sense, but a lot of the skills that we looked at aren't necessarily related or don't have the keywords presentation skills in them. So we've actually got a little bit of a check here that says, well, you included this like clause in your query, but it might be overly specific. So if you really want to do this, just give us the query again. But if not, think out loud about what's needed and then give us an updated query. And here it says, okay, I included the like clause, but I actually realize now that this might be too specific and I might miss tasks that are related to presentation skills. A better approach would be to retrieve all tasks and then analyze them in the next step to identify those related to presentation skills. So it gives us an updated query where, again, it's filtering on the account that we asked for, but now it's no longer pre-filtering on the list of tasks. So you've got a bunch of output here, and what happens is we run this query on the database because it's already connected. It's got a read-only user and a read-only replica of the production database, which is what we always recommend. And it comes back with a list of tasks that employees of this demo company are working on. Now, it could have been a real company. It's just that the LLM was smart enough to understand what company I was asking about, and it used that company's name. And ultimately, it comes up with these list of tasks. So we'll scroll down. We now say, well, you've got this information. You have to decide now, can you answer the user's request? And if not, what should you do next? And we again say you can use the list of tools that we've given you. And so what it does is it reviews what it has so far, thinks out loud about what it needs, and then it says, well, I need to analyze these tasks to identify what's related to presentation skills. So I need to give this information to another tool, the large language model client. Okay, so once it says that, we then provide a prompt that allows us to get the right question to ask of the LLM. We actually ask the LLM to come up with a question for the LLM. In any case, what it does is it says, well, I need to do this. I need to ask it which tasks are related to presentation skills. Here's the particular prompt that I think I should give it. I have a list of tasks. Please think out loud about what's related to presentation skills. Consider these particular characteristics. Here's how I want you to give me the output. And we actually use a placeholder here so that when we send the particular message that the LLM has given us to send, we'll actually inject the list of tasks here. So what happens is we send the entire prompt that the LLM told us we should send to the LLM, to the LLM on a new request, along with the placeholder value filled in. And then the LLM comes back and it says, well, after I've reviewed these tasks, I've identified certain patterns that are specific to presentation skills, and then it puts together a list of the tasks that it had specific to presentation skills. And then finally, what we do is we ask the system again, consider what you need to do. And the system says, well, I can provide a final response now. Then we ask the system, now that you've indicated you have enough data for a final response, please give us the final answer. Make sure you follow these particular formats and these particular instructions. In addition, we've given it the ability to find and identify the most relevant user instructions that come from this particular company. This is an ability that we've added to the system that can allow you as a user to provide training instructions on any scenario that you think is relevant, and our system will provide the most specific and relevant training instructions to the system when it asks for a final answer. In any case, it says, okay, I've got a final answer, and then it sends this final answer back to me, the Slack user who originally requested this. So that's an example of how you can use a database query, how you can query a database with AI and get an accurate response. The whole framework I just showed you is a framework that's relatively new. It's the framework of an autonomous agent, which is a piece of software that can think about what it needs to do, execute actions, and then consider those actions until it has a final response for the user. Now, we've built Locusive to be able to integrate with your internal databases, your product knowledge bases, and essentially act as this sort of virtual assistant or autonomous agent for your requests. Now, if you're interested in trying this out for your own company, feel free to reach out. We are implementing with companies now, and for anyone that signs up in 2024, we're giving a bit of a discount. All right, thanks a lot. If you've got questions, my name is Shanif. I am Shanif at locusive.com. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.